this lying witch walked into my shop and tried to burn a life to ground her paycheck. Let me tell you what real disrespect looks like. Sit down, shut your mouth. I've heard enough of your nonsense. This isn't your stage, it's my courtroom, and I decide when the performance is over. You ruined my life, and now you want sympathy? Don't play victim with me.
The gavel's echo hadn't even faded before the real show began. The camera zoomed tight on the plaintiff's face, a woman radiating the unshakable confidence of someone who has never been held accountable. Eleanor Vance, 45, sat with the poise of a corporate CEO, her tailored blazer and severe blonde bob broadcasting authority and entitlement. Her perfectly manicured fingers were steepled, a faint, condescending smile playing on her lips as she awaited her turn to speak. She was a chess master looking at a board where she'd already declared checkmate. What she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly fathom, was that the plain, manila folder resting before the judge contained a single piece of evidence so catastrophic. It would detonate her meticulously constructed world in under 7 seconds. The legal annihilation that followed wasn't just a ruling. It was a public execution of deceit, watched by millions and dissected across the globe. This is the story of how a professional victim met the one force on earth immune to her manipulation, the cold, hard, undeniable truth. Before we witness the moment her facade shatters into a million pieces, hit that subscribe button. What you're about to see is a masterclass in how justice operates when someone finally decides to dig deeper than the tears and the theatrics. The payoff is beyond satisfying. Eleanor Vance wasn't having a bad day. She was conducting a business operation. Over the last 6 years, she had perfected a lucrative side hustle, exploiting the civil court system. Her record showed 19 separate lawsuits filed against small to medium-sized businesses. Her method was a work of sinister art. She would identify a target, often a family-run establishment, engineer a scenario of perceived slight or professional negligence, document everything with a predatory eye for detail, and then launch a lawsuit just hefty enough to make settlement the cheaper option. She didn't want a trial. She wanted a shakedown. 19 times it had worked. 19 checks had been deposited. In her mind, she wasn't a fraud. She was a strategist, exploiting a loophole in the American dream for a comfortable profit. This morning, walking into this particular courtroom, she saw more than just another payout. She saw a platform. National television exposure would elevate her game entirely. She envisioned talk shows, a consultancy on consumer rights, maybe a podcast. Her social media was already prepped for a victory lap. Her confidence wasn't just high, it was absolute. Because in Eleanor Vance's experience, the system was designed to be gamed, and she was its grandmaster across the room. Drowning in silence was her latest mark, Arjun Patel, a 49-year-old owner of a respected local printing shop. Patel's precision print and design had been his life's work for 18 years. He'd built it from a single copier in a rented closet to a thriving hub for local artists, small businesses, and community groups. Now, he looked like a man who had aged a decade in 3 months. Dark circles hung under his eyes, and his hands, usually steady enough for delicate graphic alignment, trembled lightly on the table. Eleanor's lawsuit claimed gross professional misconduct and deliberate sabotage, demanding $15,000 for supposed ruined materials and career-damaging reputational harm. To fight it, Arjun had liquidated his daughter's college fund. The stress had sent his wife to the hospital with anxiety complications. The false online reviews Eleanor had peppered across his business pages had sliced his clientele in half. He wasn't just fighting for money. He was fighting for the survival of everything he'd built. While the woman who was trying to destroy him adjusted her lapel for the cameras, the judge, a figure of formidable presence, let the tension thicken to almost unbearable levels before speaking. Her eyes, missing nothing, scanned from Eleanor's poised arrogance to Arjun's palpable despair. "Ms. Vance," the judge began, her voice a calm, clear blade slicing through the quiet. "You've brought Mr. Patel to my courtroom. You're seeking a significant financial award. Start at the beginning. Tell me what happened." Eleanor leaned forward, her voice a controlled, articulate instrument. It was performance, but a brilliant one. "Your Honor, thank you. On the morning of September 12th, I entrusted Mr. Patel with the single most important professional project of my career. The printing and binding of 200 copies of a proprietary business proposal I'd spent 2 years developing. This proposal was for a 7-figure corporate contract. I provided him with exact specifications, a digital file, and explicit, repeated instructions regarding confidentiality and quality. I paid a 50% premium for rush service and signed a confidentiality agreement he provided. She paused, allowing the gravity to settle. When I arrived to collect the order, it was nothing short of a catastrophe. The binding was mismatched and coming apart. The proprietary color codes were completely wrong, rendering my charts and data visuals meaningless. Worse, Your Honor, stacked clearly in his completed orders area. I saw multiple copies of my proposal, my confidential work, just sitting out in the open for anyone to see. When I confronted him, he became belligerent. He blamed my file. He accused me of changing my instructions. He refused to accept responsibility or offer any meaningful restitution. His negligence didn't just cost me time and money. It caused me to miss my submission deadline, losing the contract outright. The reputational damage in my industry is incalculable. The $15,000 is a fraction of the actual loss, but it's a matter of principle. Business owners cannot operate with such reckless unprofessionalism. The judge's face was unreadable. She turned to the broken man on the other side. Mr. Patel, your response. Arjun's voice was thick with emotion and accent. Your Honor, it is not true. Not in this way. Miss Vance, she did come with a big job. Very important, she said. I gave her my best price, my fastest timeline. But her file? It was not built for professional printing. The colors were in the wrong format. The margins were set for home printer, not for my bindery machine. I called her. I emailed her twice. I said, please send corrected file, or we must adjust the design, or there will be problems. She replied only once. She said, and I have the email, just print it as is. I know what I'm doing. I printed a single proof copy. I drove it to her office myself that evening. I said, see, the color is wrong here. The binding will cut off this text. She looked at it for 5 seconds and said, it's fine. Run the full order. I have the proof copy with her initials in the corner, Your Honor. I begged her to let me fix it. She refused. He took a shuddering breath. When she came to pick up, she was not surprised. She was angry, yes, but it was a prepared anger. She had a phone already recording. She demanded a full refund plus $15,000. When I showed her the signed proof, she tore it up. She said my work had destroyed her career. She said she would bury my business online. And the copies she saw, they were not hers. They were a different client's annual report with a similar blue cover. She never even looked closely. She just wanted to create the scene. For the camera. Eleanor let out a sigh of theatrical pity. Your Honor, this is a fantasy. A desperate man rewriting history. There was no proof copy. There were no warnings. He's fabricated this story to cover his gross incompetence. Where is this alleged emailed warning? Where is this mythical proof copy? He can't produce them because they don't exist. It's his word against mine, and my professional reputation is spotless. The phrase hung in the air, his word against mine. It was her mantra, her armor. The judge's eyes flickered to the manila folder. So, Ms. Vance, your entire case rests on the premise that there is no documentation to contradict your version of events? That it is purely and simply a matter of your credible testimony against his? Eleanor nodded, a glint of triumph in her eye. Precisely, Your Honor, this is about accountability. He failed to deliver a professional service, and now he must be held responsible. Without concrete evidence to the contrary, my account of our business interaction is the only one that matters. The judge leaned back slowly, the leather of her chair creaking. I see. So, if I understand your position, evidence like emails or signed proofs would be rather important to this case. Of course they would, Eleanor said, spreading her hands. But they don't exist. Which is why we're here relying on testimony. On who is more believable. The judge offered a small, thin smile. It was the smile of a spider whose web has just trembled. Ms. Vance, you were absolutely correct about one thing. We do rely on evidence in this courtroom, and credibility is paramount. Her hand rested on the folder. Let's talk about your credibility. Asterisk, the air in the courtroom changed. It became charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. Eleanor's confident posture didn't falter, but a microscopic flicker of uncertainty passed behind her eyes, a predator sensing a shift in the wind. The judge's hand didn't leave the manila folder. You've stated under oath, Ms. Vance, that Mr. Patel never contacted you with warnings about the file. That no proof copy was ever delivered or signed. That his narrative is, in your words, a fantasy. Is that your sworn testimony? Eleanor lifted her chin. It is, Your Honor. I have nothing to hide. He is lying to save himself. Asterisk, and you're certain, the judge continued, her tone deceptively casual, that no electronic record of such warnings exists? In this age of digital everything, you're staking your entire case and your professional reputation on the absolute absence of an email or text message. A faint, condescending smile touched Eleanor's lips. She was back on familiar ground debating semantics. Your Honor, with all due respect, we all know how easy it is to claim an email was sent. The sent folder can be manipulated. Digital records can be forged. That's why they're not here. Because they're not real. He's had months to fabricate them, and he hasn't because he can't. The truth is on my side. The judge nodded slowly, as if considering a profound point. Digital records can be questioned. I agree. Forensics would be needed. A hassle. She then opened the folder. The sound was stark in the silent room. But some things are harder to fake. Some things have a physical, undeniable presence. She withdrew a single sheet of paper, holding it up. It was a high-quality color photocopy. The camera zoomed in. It showed the front cover of a business proposal, sleek and professional. In the bottom right corner, clear as day, were the initials EV. In sharp blue ink, next to them, in a different hand, was written, "Okay to print, see notes re, color shift on P7, and Arjun Patel's signature and the date, September 12th. This," the judge said. Her voice now a hammer, "is the certified copy from Mr. Patel's records of the proof you initialed?" Ms. Vance, the original is with an independent document examiner as we speak, but this copy is quite clear. Your initials. Your authorization to print despite the noted color issue. Care to explain? Eleanor's face underwent a terrifying transformation. The blood didn't drain, it seemed to evacuate all at once. Her mouth opened, but only a dry click emerged. For 3 full seconds, the master strategist had no strategy. The audience collectively leaned forward. That's not my initial. She finally choked out, her voice an octave higher. He must have forged it. He's trying to frame me. The judge didn't blink. A forensic handwriting analyst is standing by. Ms. Vance, we can recess this case right now and have her compare this to the 19 other specimens of your signature and initials provided by the other businesses you've sued. Would you like me to do that? The trap was sprung. Calling for the analyst would be an admission of guilt the moment the analysis confirmed the match. Backing down was surrender. Eleanor Vance was in freefall. I don't recall initialing this, she stammered, the perfect articulation gone. Perhaps I did, but under duress. He was pressuring me. It doesn't change the fact that the final product was unusable. It changes everything, the judge countered, her words crisp. It proves you were warned of a potential issue. You acknowledged it, and you authorized production anyway. It destroys your claim of negligence. But we're just getting started, Ms. Vance. You also claimed he never emailed you. From the folder came a thicker stack. These are authenticated email headers and transcripts from Mr. Patel's business server. Not from his sent folder, from his server logs, which are considerably harder to tamper with. They show an email sent to your business address at 3:14 p.m. on September 12th, with the subject line, urgent, proof and file issues for Project Vance. The body details the color format problem. A second email at 6:02 p.m. with a scanned image of the initial proof, asking for final confirmation. A third, the following morning, asking when you'd like to schedule the corrected file transfer. Your server, Ms. Vance, according to a subpoenaed report from your email provider, shows these emails as delivered and read, "Your story isn't just wrong. It's a deliberate, fabricated lie." The dam was cracking. Eleanor gripped the table, her knuckles white. Those logs can be... He could have hacked your email provider and altered their delivery logs. The judge finished, her eyebrow arched. Your argument is that a small-town printer is also a world-class cybercriminal. Let's move from the digital to the material. You claim the copies of your confidential proposal were left exposed. The judge produced a photograph. It showed a stack of bound books with a bright blue cover. This is a photo from Mr. Patel's shop, taken the day after your pickup, showing the project that was actually on his shelf. It's the annual report for the Greenville Community Foundation. The title is on the cover in 24-point font. Your proposal, as described in your initial complaint, was titled Project Aegis. Did you mistakenly believe a community foundation's annual report was your top secret business proposal, Ms. Vance? Or did you see a blue cover and deliberately manufacture an outrage for your camera? The courtroom was buzzing now. Eleanor's friend in the front row had buried her face in her hands. Arjun Patel was crying silently, tears of relief and vindication streaming down his face. "Your Honor, this is a witch hunt." Eleanor exploded, her composure shattering into desperation. "You're taking his side because he's the little guy. You're allowing him to fabricate all this paperwork to discredit me. My feelings, my professional trauma are real. You can't dismiss what this experience did to me." The judge's voice dropped, becoming dangerously quiet. "Your feelings, Ms. Vance, are not on trial here. Your veracity is. And so far, every piece of factual, documentary evidence contradicts your testimony under oath. But you're right. Let's not focus only on this case. Let's examine the source of your professional trauma. Let's talk about your business model." From the depths of the folder came a ledger, a spreadsheet printed on legal-size paper. This is a summary I had compiled. 19 lawsuits in 6 years. 16 of those were against immigrant-owned or first-generation family businesses. 12 settled out of court for amounts ranging from $2,000 to $8,000. A pattern emerges. Ms. Vance, you target those you perceive as vulnerable, less likely to have robust legal resources, and potentially more fearful of drawn-out public litigation. You are not a victim. You are a predator. And today, you picked the wrong target. Eleanor was hyperventilating. "I have a right to seek legal redress. Every case was different. This is profiling. You're profiling me for being a successful woman who knows her rights. I'm profiling you for being a serial litigant and a perjurer," the judge stated flatly. She held up the final document. It was a screenshot, blown up. "And this, Miss Vance, is the nail in your professional coffin. A post from a business forum under a username that your IP address confirms belongs to you. Dated August 30th, 2 weeks before you even walked into Mr. Patel's shop." The post reads, "I need a reliable printer in the Greenville area for a sensitive job. Preferably a smaller, owner-operated shop. Looking to establish a relationship?" Someone replies recommending Patel's precision print. Your response, "Thanks." Smaller shops are usually more accommodating if expectations aren't fully met. Less corporate bureaucracy to hide behind. The judge let the paper fall to the desk with a definitive slap. You weren't looking for quality. You were scouting for a vulnerability. You went in with the intent to create a dispute. This wasn't a transaction gone bad. It was a planned extraction. And you got caught. Silence, thick and suffocating, filled the television courtroom. The only sound was Eleanor Vance's ragged, uneven breathing, which crackled through the overhead microphones. The woman who had entered as a poised executive was now a crumbling statue. Her makeup streaked, her blazer suddenly seeming too large for her shrinking frame. The judge let the weight of the revealed evidence press down for a long, punishing moment. "Miss Vance," the judge began, her voice no longer a blade but a grinding stone, methodical and inevitable. You have committed a profound abuse of this court's purpose. You have not simply lied. You have weaponized the law. You have used it as a cudgel to extort hardworking people, to fund your lifestyle through fear and fraud. That ends today. Right now. Eleanor tried to speak, but only a whimper emerged. Her lawyer, looking physically ill, simply shook his head, signaling her to stop. The lawsuit of Eleanor Vance versus Arjun Patel is dismissed. With prejudice. You will never bother this man with this fantasy again. The judge turned to Arjun. Mr. Patel, you have incurred significant costs defending yourself from this fiction. Quantify it for me. Arjun, wiping his eyes, spoke with newfound strength. Legal fees, Your Honor, for my attorney and the document examiner. $9,400. The business I lost from her false reviews, I calculated roughly. $11,000. And the non-refundable deposit for my daughter's semester, which I had to use. $4,500. Asterisk, the judge nodded. Ms. Vance, you will pay Mr. Patel $9,400 in legal fees. You will pay him $11,000 in compensatory damages for lost business. You will reimburse the $4,500 college fund withdrawal. That is $25,900. Furthermore, for the intentional infliction of emotional distress, the damage to your community's trust in local business, and for wasting this court's time with a premeditated fraud, I am adding $10,000 in punitive damages. Your total judgment payable to Mr. Patel is $35,900. You will arrange payment within 30 days. The number hung in the air, a financial death sentence. I don't have that. Eleanor wailed, her voice breaking. You're ruining me. Asterisk, you tried to ruin him, the judge shot back, utterly unmoved. You plotted to take $15,000 from him based on lies. The consequences of being caught are naturally more severe. You will find the money, sell your car, mortgage your home, liquidate your assets. I do not care. Mr. Patel will be paid. Every cent. But the judge was not finished. She leaned forward, her gaze locking onto Eleanor's. However, financial restitution is only one facet of justice. You have committed multiple acts of perjury before me today. You have suborned the judicial process. You have shown a pattern of behavior that constitutes fraud on a scale that moves this from civil negligence to criminal enterprise. She lifted a sheet of paper. This is a referral to the county district attorney's office. It outlines the evidence of perjury, attempted fraud, and a potential pattern of racketeering based on your 19 previous lawsuits. A criminal investigation will be opened. I suggest, Ms. Vance, that you secure a criminal defense attorney immediately. The charges you may be facing could carry prison time. The word prison finally broke her. Eleanor Vance collapsed forward onto the table, her body racked with sobs that were equal parts fear and utter defeat. The theatrical tears were gone. These were the real, ugly, desperate tears of a cornered animal. Security officers moved to stand near her as the judge finalized the paperwork. Turning back to Arjun, the judge's demeanor soft a fraction. Mr. Patel, you acted with integrity. You kept your records. You told the truth. You fought back. Because of your courage, this woman will likely never be able to do this to anyone else. I wish you the best in rebuilding your business. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell. It was over. The footage of Eleanor being half-led, half-carried from the courtroom, her face a mask of shattered horror, became an instant iconic image. But the story exploded beyond the studio. Within the hour, the clip's Eleanor's smug, it's his word against mine, juxtaposed with the judge producing the initial proof, were viral. The hashtag word against mine trended globally, becoming a shorthand for the moment fake victimhood meets irrefutable receipts. The DA's office, flooded with calls, and the judge's referral, acted with surprising speed. By the next afternoon, detectives had contacted all 19 prior businesses on Eleanor's lawsuit list. What they found was a trail of quiet devastation. A Filipino bakery owner who'd paid $3,500 after Eleanor claimed a toxic cleaner was used near her cake, causing an allergic reaction a reaction she was filmed not having at a cafe later that same day. A Nigerian-owned car service who settled for $5,000 after she alleged a reckless driver caused her neck injury. The car's internal dash cam, which the owner hadn't thought to check until the detectives asked, showed a perfectly smooth ride with Eleanor on her phone. Laughing at a joint investigation by a local newspaper and a national news website pieced together the full picture. Eleanor Vance, a mid-level marketing consultant with a modest real income, had been supplementing it by over $45,000 in the past 6 years through these settlements. She used the money for luxury vacations, a leased luxury SUV, and designer goods. Her social media, now scrubbed but archived by the internet, showed her posing with captions about knowing your worth and holding people accountable. The photos often tagged from locations paid for by the people she destroyed. The class action lawsuit, filed by 7 of her previous targets, sought over $150,000 in returned settlements and damages. Her bank accounts were frozen. Her husband, in a terse statement to the press, announced their separation, stating he was shocked and appalled and had been completely in the dark about her activities. Her friends and professional network evaporated overnight, leaving public comments distancing themselves. Asterisk, the fallout from Eleanor Vance's courtroom. Demolition was a societal tremor. It wasn't just a story about one liar. It was a referendum on a system that too often rewarded bullies and punished the honest. The viral nature of her downfall sparked a wildfire of accountability. Online review sites were flooded with comments on her previous targets' pages, urging them to reopen their cases or simply offering support. Local business associations began offering free legal clinics, teaching small business owners how to meticulously document client interactions and understand their rights. But the most profound impact was on Arjun Patel. The morning after the episode aired, a line formed outside Patel's precision print and design. It wasn't just for printing. People came to shake his hand, to place orders they didn't urgently need, to buy support local business posters he hadn't even designed yet. A crowdfunding campaign, started by a customer, raised his $35,900 judgment in less than 48 hours. He refused it, instead directing the funds to create a legal defense grant for other small, immigrant-owned businesses facing frivolous lawsuits. His act of turning his vindication into protection for others made him a local hero. News vans parked on his street. He was interviewed on the morning news, not as a victim, but as a victor. He spoke haltingly but powerfully about the fear he felt, the temptation to just pay her to go away, and the moment he decided to fight. "I realized," he said, "if I pay, she just does this to the next person. Maybe someone who cannot fight at all. I had to stand, not just for me, but for them." His business didn't just recover, it tripled. He hired 4 new employees, including his now graduated daughter as office manager. Meanwhile, the criminal machinery ground forward. Eleanor was formally charged with 6 counts of perjury, 4 counts of attempted grand larceny for the current case, and 3 prior settlements where new evidence emerged, and 1 count of scheme to defraud. Faced with the mountain of evidence and the prospect of a public trial, her new criminal attorney negotiated a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to 2 counts of perjury and 1 count of scheme to defraud. The sentence, 5 years probation, 1,000 hours of community service to be served assisting legal aid organizations, a poetic twist, and full financial restitution to all her identifiable victims as determined by the court, a sum that eventually totaled over $80,000. She also had to publicly apologize in court to Arjun Patel and 5 other named victims. The prison time was avoided, but her life as she knew it was obliterated. Her professional licenses were revoked. She was unemployable in her field. She became a permanent cautionary tale. Asterisk, the lesson resonated far beyond the legal outcomes. Commentary pieces asked tough questions. How many Eleanor Vances are out there working the system? How can we better protect the Arjun Patels of the world? The judge's simple, relentless focus on evidence, the signed proof, the server logs, the premeditated forum posts became a mantra. The case proved that in the face of a compelling, emotional story, the most powerful weapon is often the boring, technical receipt. It championed the unsung heroism of good record keeping and the courage to call a bluff. The episode itself became the highest rated in the show's history. Comment sections and social media threads weren't just filled with schadenfreude. They were filled with stories. People shared their own experiences with false accusations, with bullying lawsuits, with times they wished they'd had a smoking gun like Arjun's initial proof. The phrase, "well, it's just my word against theirs," began to be met with a new, skeptical response. Where's your evidence? Eleanor Vance's legacy was cemented not by her fraud, but by its spectacular failure. She became the archetype of the overconfident schemer who forgets that in a battle between a well-told lie and a poorly presented truth, the truth has one unbeatable advantage. It actually happened. And if you dig hard enough, you can always find its footprints. So, what's the ultimate takeaway from the spectacular implosion of Eleanor Vance? It's more than just the joy of watching a bully get humiliated on national TV, though that's deeply satisfying. It's a blueprint for integrity in a world that often rewards the opposite. Think about it. Arjun Patel won not because he was a better talker. He was nervous, emotional, and struggling with language. He won because he was a better documenter. He kept the email logs. He drove over a physical proof copy and got a signature. He operated with transparency. In the end, his boring, meticulous paperwork was a more powerful weapon than Eleanor's silver tongue and designer suit. The case screams a timeless truth. The best defense against a brilliant liar is a boring fact. Asterisk. Eleanor's fatal flaw was her contempt. She didn't just lie. She believed her lies were superior to other people's truths. She believed her performance was more valuable than Arjun's receipts. She believed the system was too lazy, too sentimental, or too stupid to look past her tears. And in Judge Judy's courtroom, she found the one place where that calculus doesn't work. This isn't a traffic court where you can charm the prosecutor. This is an arena where evidence is king and credibility is built on proof, not pitch. Asterisk. This is why you need to watch these moments. It's not about drama for drama's sake. It's about seeing the scales of justice, momentarily tilted by slick deception, being slammed back to level by the sheer weight of reality. It's restorative. It's the universe whispering, not today. Con artists. For everyone in the comments who says they've been through something similar, the false accusation at work, the neighbor who lies to get you in trouble, the client who tries to stiff you, this video is your ammunition. Your lesson is document everything. Keep the receipts. Save the emails. Get it in writing. Your version of the initial proof is out there. Find it, keep it safe, and never be afraid to produce it. And for those of you thinking she got off easy with just probation, look deeper. Her punishment wasn't just legal. It was reputational, financial, and existential. She is forever the woman from the word against mine meme. Every future employer, every date, every new acquaintance will Google her and find that video of her confident smirk dissolving into pure terror. In the digital age, that is a life sentence. The $80,000 plus in restitution means her fraudulent profits are gone with interest. She has to serve her community service, helping the very people she preyed upon. That is a deeply psychological punishment. So, if you enjoyed this masterclass in how to dismantle a fraud with facts, do me a favor, smash that like button. Let's get this video to everyone who needs to see that truth still wins. Subscribe right now, because next week, we're breaking down another case where an entitled landlord tries to evict a disabled veteran with a sob story, only to have the judge unveil a text message thread that flips the entire script. You won't want to miss it. Drop a comment below. What was the most satisfying piece of evidence for you? The initial proof? The forum post scouting for a victim? Or the moment she realized the email server logs don't lie? Share this with that friend who's always complaining about some Karen at their job or in their neighborhood. Tell them to watch, learn, and start keeping better records. Remember, in the courtroom of life, you might not always have a Judge Judy, but you can always have evidence. Be the person with the proof. Be the Arjun Patel, not the Eleanor Vance, because in the end, The truth doesn't just set you free, it can also bury the person trying to lock you up. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video, where justice gets served, once again, ice cold.